All right, here we go. Welcome into the show. You're watching Philadelphia Eagles Now by Chat Sports. Chase Senior hanging out here with you. And no matter where you are or how you're tuned in, thank you so much for making tonight's show a part of your evening. And we have some breaking news to get to. For Philadelphia, the regular season is over. Now their focus shifts towards the NFL playoffs, and we now know who the Eagles will play next weekend at Lincoln Financial Field. Green Bay Packers coming to South Philadelphia in a rematch from that Week 1 game in Brazil. We're going to talk about that ball game and also talk about Philadelphia's 14th win of the year as Tanner McKee led the Birds to a win over the New York Giants on Sunday. Before we do all of that, subscribe for the most elite Eagles coverage right here on YouTube. All throughout this week, we're going to bring the heat for this Packers-Eagles game. Game preview is coming up on Monday. We're, of course, going to talk about the latest news. I'm going to pass along analysis. We're going to do a watch party for this game, and we're approaching 98,000 subs. So let's get that silver plaque from YouTube, hit that sub button, and let's go on a Super Bowl run together. We do not know when this game will be. We do know it'll be at Lincoln Financial Field. I imagine, as I'm recording the show, Vikings about to kick off against the Detroit Lions. The times for these playoff games will be released after Sunday Night Football. All we know is the matchup. Packers on the road to take on the Eagles. Green Bay finishing the 2024 campaign at 11-6. Philadelphia at 14-3. And the wild card matchups are pretty much set in stone outside of the number 1 seed and the 5 seed in the NFC going into Sunday Night Football. So we're going to have the Eagles take on the 7-seeded Packers. We're going to have the Buccaneers play the Commanders. And then we'll see if it's either Rams against Vikings or Rams against Lions. A crazy ending to the early slate too, by the way, which decided all of this. The Packers were down all day. They took the lead against Chicago. Then Chicago kicked the 51-yard field goal to beat Green Bay for the first time in a long time. And at the same time in which that ball sailed through the uprights, in Arlington, Texas, the Commanders won at the buzzer over Dallas to lock down that 6th seed. And because the Commanders won and the Packers lost, that's what decided the 6-7 spots in the NFC. In the AFC, we do know what these matchups are going to be. It'll be Bills-Broncos in the 2-7, Ravens-Steelers, great AFC North rivalry, in the 3-6, and then Texans-Chargers in that 4-5. I will say about this Packers team, I know some people are going to say, doesn't matter. Eagles are going to win easily. They're the 2 seed. Packers barely got in. They're the 7 seed. Green Bay is a formidable threat. They have a very talented and deep roster. One of the youngest teams in the NFL, but last year in the playoffs, as a 7 seed, they annihilated the Dallas Cowboys. They should have beat the number 1 seeded San Francisco 49ers. And so talented, deep, young, but they have playoff experience. Matt LaFleur is a top 10 head coach in this league. Jordan Love is very inconsistent. He misses a lot of throws. He will make some maddening mistakes with the ball, but when he catches fire, which does happen frequently, he is very dangerous, but because he can complete any throw on the football field and has a contingent, a plethora of weapons around him, and it's a very balanced football team with Green Bay. The defense last year stunk. The defense this year under first-year defensive coordinator Jeff Hafley, who came over from being the Boston College defensive coordinator, is much improved. They can go 4 deep at wide receiver. They can go 2 deep at tight end. They have a really good offensive line, and their run game with Josh Jacobs, I think, is better than their run game previously with Aaron Jones. A look back at Week 1. So much has happened since that game in Brazil. For the Eagles to win that game, it was a big dub at the time, and it remains a big victory. And the Eagles had to come back multiple times in that game to escape with the 34-29 win in Brazil. And Philadelphia overcame 3 first-half Jalen Hurts turnovers. Opening drive of the game, he got picked. Second drive of the game, he fumbled. Later in the first half, he threw that red zone pick. Eagles lost the turnover battle 3-1 in that game. The defense missed a lot of tackles. They were a little bit sloppy. First game under Vic Fangio. They still put up 34 points. They gave up 29, but the defense did help to close that game out late. Saquon Barkley debut as an Eagle, burst onto the scene, and we were saying thank you, Giants, all the way back in September. 100-plus rushing yards, 3 total touchdowns, 2 on the ground, 1 with that wheel route. A.J. Brown had that 67-yard touchdown in which he dusted Jair Alexander. He went over 100 yards. He was really good in that game. Green Bay, though, has struggled against quality opponents this season. They lost to the Vikings twice. They lost to the Lions twice. The other playoff-level teams that they have beaten, Los Angeles Rams early in the year, when the Rams tripped up coming out of the gate, and the Houston Texans, their stock has fallen precipitously really all year long as they haven't captured the magic from the 2023 season. I do think Philadelphia does match up with the Packers in this game. The 2 quarterbacks, we are going to monitor their respective injury statuses. Jalen Hurts still has not cleared concussion protocol. There was a report during that Eagles-Giants game from the broadcast that he was doing some things during the Saturday walkthrough. Everything I'm hearing, the Eagles just wanted to be very cautious, and I think that was the right play. Something similar happened in 2022 when he injured his shoulder, missed 2 games. People thought, is he going to be a little bit rusty? That's a little bit of a concern, but I do have confidence in him. He's been through it before. This Eagles team with the talent, the coaching, that they can knock off those cobwebs during the week so that he's ready to go for the game. And then Jordan Love, he suffered an elbow contusion against Chicago. Head coach Matt LaFleur said after the game, we kept him out of precaution, but he said he couldn't feel his arm there for a little while, and he couldn't play the rest of the game. He does expect to play in this game against Philadelphia, but an elbow injury to the team's starting quarterback, that's of course notable as well. A look at how the Packers stack up as a team. Offensively, 8th in points per game scored at 27.4 per matchup, 7th in yards per game at 370.7, 5th in yards per play at 6.1. They're 12th on third downs at 40%, and 9th in the red zone. So this is a top 10 all-around offense for Green Bay, a handful as a 7 seed. Defensively, 6th in points per game, 8th in yards per game, 10th in yards per play, 10th on third downs, 18th in the red zone. So finishing in the red zone, finishing on those money downs, going to be big for Philadelphia in this game against the Packers. How the Eagles stack up. 7th in points per game, 6th in yards per game, 12th in yards per play, 9th on third downs, 14th in the red zone. And then defensively, the number 1 overall defense in the league, 3rd in points per game, 1st in yards per game and yards per play, 6th on third downs, 8th in the red zone. These young corners for Philadelphia, Cooper DeJean, Quinyon Mitchell, they are going to be tested. This young Eagles defense will be tested as well. So a full preview will be up on the channel on Monday. Be on the lookout for that. Just some initial thoughts and an instant reaction coming your way right now. In the meantime, who you got? GB for the Packers, PHI for the Philadelphia Eagles. Part of the reason the Eagles are here, they won their 2nd NFC East title in 3 years. If you want to get some NFC East Champs gear, hats, shirts, hoodies, all available right now if you go to chatsports.com/NFC East Champs PHI. That's chatsports.com/NFC East Champs PHI. You can get the same gear that the players were wearing after that win last week over the Dallas Cowboys, all thanks to our friends at Fanatics. As for this Week 18 game for the Eagles, the Birds win 20-13, and I was really impressed with how Philadelphia fared in this game, how they performed, their attitude, their level of play. This was a team that was locked in. Most importantly, this was a team whose depth was on display. That's a credit to Howie Roseman for building this team. It's a credit to Nick Sirianni and his coaching staff for coaching this team up and developing the players. Because the Eagles' backups thoroughly dominated the Giants' starters. The scoreboard reads 20-13. This game really wasn't close at all, and the most noteworthy performance came from quarterback Tanner McKee. This guy is the Eagles' third-string quarterback. He could start on some teams across the NFL. Back during his rookie year in the preseason 2 years ago, I had said, man, this guy can play. 6'6", 235, throws with touch, anticipation, accuracy toward the boundary. Because of his height, able to see the field. Today, you saw all of that In the preseason, you saw all of that. Last week against Dallas, the back shoulder ball to A.J. Brown. What a fine throw. But he ran this offense today with confidence. He got the ball out quickly. He went through his reads. He is not mobile at all, but he has a good arm. He's very accurate. He had a passer rating of 100.6. Again, this is the Eagles' third-string quarterback. He might be better than Kenny Pickett. And I had said going into the year, he should be QB2 over Kenny Pickett. Now, Kenny Pickett played very well in relief duty of Jalen Hurts last week, and he deserves credit for that. But this comes down to just roster construction, player development, identifying these players in the pre-draft process and in the draft. And that's why the Eagles were able to come out today and they're able to thump New York and win their 14th game of the year. The Giants, on the other hand, 3-14. Eagles didn't do much on the ground, only 2 yards per carry. Will Shipley, Kenneth Gainwell, 10 and 11 carries respectively. How about Jahan Dotson? 7 catches for 94. Dallas Goedert came back in this game, needed to shake off some rust. He looked good outside of a drop, 4 for 55. Anaya Smith, the rookie, looked better than he did in the preseason. Will Shipley had a 13-yard catch I thought was nice. Defensively, Oren Burke, 17 tackles. Jeremiah Trotter Jr., 11 tackles. He plays with some instincts. I thought Jordan Davis made some solid plays. Moro Ajomo as well. And the Eagles able to win their 14th game. It's 2 of the last 3 years in which Nick Sirianni has led the Eagles to 14 wins. It's very impressive what he's done in his first 4 years as the Eagles head coach. It's not just talent. It's not just the GM. It's the fact that Nick Sirianni can coach ball. Be sure to subscribe to the channel. Can't wait for all of our coverage this week. Eagles, Packers, the playoffs are here. This is what we live for. Go Birds.